The most difficult of every case that you're going to work is notifying the family that they've had someone, their loved one, that's been murdered or is no longer with us.
After years of working in St. Mary's Parish, Chief Barnes says when officers arrive on the scene, everything has to slow down. Every thought, every decision matters because what they do next can shape the entire case.
Is the scene safe? What am I walking into? Who else is still here? Is there anybody still alive that's injured? All those things are running through your mind when you're initially responding. If there's other officers there and the scene's already secure when you respond, great concern for the victim and their family is what's running through your mind, and concern about making sure that you're able to get them the justice that they deserve.
After more than 30 years on the job, Major Wolf says those moments start to follow them, not just in what they see, but in how they think and how they view people.
What you've seen, the smell that you've encountered, the things that you've talked to people about. You go home, like, as a detective, your mind is always going. The first things I'm thinking of, did I, talk to everybody I need to? Did I pass on all the important information to my team so that we can bring all this together? You just don't have a normal night of sleep thinking, because your mind is replaying because you're reliving the whole scene all over again. And you try not to take these things personally, although you do to a certain extent, because you're feeling what these, people that are hurting or feeling, and you're actually seeing people hurt. And that's not something I have done very well with.
As a former detective in Lafourche Parish, Lieutenant Brooks says some cases are harder than others, especially when the victims are children.
But it's always the kids, and it's very, very tough to respond to a scene where there's going to be multiple victims. But if anytime there's a child involved, things just change. It's you just step it up, because you have to kind of now have thicker skin, because you're trying to block that human side of it. You're trying to put yourself in a different mindset, but it's at the same time you're seeing that this is a child, this is a baby. Like, who could do something like this, or why? So it's always the why, that you think about. Like, why would somebody do this?
The weight of this job doesn't just stay in the field. For many officers, it builds over time in ways people don't always see.
If you don't talk about it, if you don't take care of yourself, it can weigh down on you, and you have officer suicide rates that rival military, with post-traumatic stress and so forth. Everybody thinks PTSD and thinks military. you know we as law enforcement often get left out of that and forgotten about.
Even with that weight, the mission never changes. At the end of every case, there's still a family waiting for answers.
Because you know that these people are hurt. You cannot bring their loved ones back. So doing our part is actually speaking for that victim through our work and being there in the courtroom and hearing this guilty verdict. It brings some closure to the family, but it's not a total repair of what they've lost. But it's satisfying to know now you have somebody that actually trusts in the things that you work.
So, after everything they've seen and everything they carry, the question becomes why keep going?
At some point in time in your career, you begin to understand the realness of this job, and the professionalism, and how critical it is to be able to go out and help somebody, and to say that you did something to change someone's life.
You owe it to yourself and your career and your family, right? But you also owe it to the people you're dealing with to do your due diligence. Because when you do your due diligence, it serves everybody around you and does right by everybody.
After years of doing this job, It changes more than just how they do the job. It changes how they see the world.
It makes me more compassionate with people and more of an understanding person outside of the scope of my duties, where I have to do my job, but also I have to understand it from their point of view as well. And just being able to sit down with people and not know them from the very beginning of the case, and then as time go on, they calling you and relying on your advice to help them cope with their situations is very satisfying. It makes me appreciate life more. It give more value knowing that the things that you normally see is not something that you take for granted. I mean, one day you can have it, the next day it's gone. And when you see people go through these things, it makes you realize, that could have been me.